You're not in a relationship, you're in a courtroom, and you're always on trial. Sound familiar? Then this video is for you. Constant criticism has no place in a healthy relationship. It doesn't just hurt your feelings, it chips away at your confidence, erodes emotional safety, and honestly, it can make for a pretty darn miserable existence. If you're dealing with an overly critical partner, you're not alone. I've been through this myself, and I've seen it time and time again in my practice. But guess what? There are some simple yet powerful strategies that you can use to shift the narrative and break the cycle. Stick with me. I'm going to show you exactly what to do, including how to set boundaries, protect your self-worth, and bring the relationship back into team mode. I'm Allie, a licensed marriage and family therapist and head of relationships at Paired, the couples app that keeps your romantic relationship fresh. Check it out in the description. What is a critical partner, and signs that you're with one? Before we dive in, let's get clear on what we actually mean by a critical partner, because we're not talking about the occasional disagreement or some poorly worded feedback. This is about a pattern, a constant negative voice that slowly wears you down. A critical partner is someone who regularly points out what's wrong instead of what's working. They might constantly nitpick, micromanage, or fixate on your flaws instead of your strengths. It feels like you can't do anything right. And if you're frequently hearing phrases like, "You never do that properly," or "I guess I just have higher standards than you," you're probably dealing with a critical partner. And this kind of dynamic is really damaging. If you're constantly being criticized by the one person who's supposed to have your back, that can start to feel really lonely, unsafe even. That's why this matters, because you deserve a relationship that lifts you up, not one that quietly tears you down. So in this video, I'm sharing 5 strategies to help you deal with a critical partner. These are grounded in psychology and real-life tools, things you can actually say and do to shift the dynamic, protect your self-worth, and move toward a healthier, more respectful relationship. Let's get into it. 1. Listen to understand, even if you feel defensive. "You're so selfish. You never listen to me. I'm so sick of waiting for you every time you're late. You need to help out more with housework." On the surface, these all sound like criticisms, and when you hear words like that, it's natural to go straight on the defensive. You shut down, you push back, you think, "Geez, they're always on my case." Now, you're not gonna like this next part, but hear me out. What if it's not actually a criticism? What if underneath the frustration, your partner is saying something constructive, something worth listening to? Here's the thing, not all tough feedback is the same, even if it feels like an attack in the heat of the moment. Sometimes what your partner is expressing is actually a complaint or a critique, and those are different from criticism. Criticism targets your character. It sounds like, "You're always on your phone during dinner," or "You never pay attention to me when we're eating together." It's personal and hurtful and often contains absolutes like always or never. A critique is more constructive. It focuses on a specific behavior and suggests a fix. Something like, "Hey, can you put your phone away during mealtimes?" A complaint expresses a feeling or unmet need. So your partner might say, "I'm so fed up with sitting in silence at dinner every night." Can you hear the difference? Criticism blames you, while critiques and complaints highlight certain behaviors and how they make your partner feel. And that distinction matters because it can completely change how you respond. So next time you're feeling criticized or attacked, I want you to pause for a second and reflect. Are they criticizing, critiquing, or complaining? If it's a critique or a complaint, there's usually an opening for connection. In that case, validate your partner's feelings and acknowledge what they're really telling you. Then make the change that they need, whether it's putting your phone away and being more present or helping out with the grocery list. And if it is just full-on relentless criticism, then it's time for our next strategy. 2, get to the root of the criticism. When your partner criticizes you constantly, it's hard not to take it personally. It feels like they're just pointing out everything you do wrong over and over again. But let me tell you, that pattern of criticism says more about them than it does about you. And like any pattern or any kind of repeat behavior, criticism has a root cause. It's not really about the way you stack the dishwasher or how you drive or your crappy cooking skills. It's more about how your partner is feeling. Criticism often comes from a place of deep insecurity. Your critical partner is probably highly critical of themselves, and maybe they're resorting to criticism out of fear or a feeling of inadequacy. Relationship therapist Esther Perel also makes a very interesting point that behind every criticism is a wish or an unmet need. So maybe your partner feels unsupported, unseen, or unheard in some way, but they don't feel able to express that directly because that would make them vulnerable. What if they're telling you how they're feeling or what they need and you reject them? That's scary. It feels much safer to say, "You never listen to me," than "I feel lonely in this relationship." Or, "You're always late," versus, "I feel like I don't matter to you." In that sense, criticism serves as a defense mechanism. So when your partner's criticizing you, they might actually be expressing their own fear, insecurity, or disconnection, just in a very clumsy way. That doesn't mean that their criticism is okay. It's not. But understanding the root can help you move from conflict to clarity and eventually a solution. So here's what you can do. Next time the criticism rears its ugly head, ask yourself, what's actually going on here? What insecurity or wish are they expressing beneath their critical words? Then you're going to name it gently. Say something like, "I've noticed you often criticize me for how I spend time with my friends. I wonder if that's coming from a place of feeling left out or wanting to feel closer. Can we talk about what you really need?" By calling out the criticism and inviting your partner to be honest and vulnerable, you shift the narrative from blame and defense to how can we do better? And if your partner still can't communicate their needs without criticizing you, then it's time to set some boundaries. Let's explore that next. 3, set clear boundaries and enforce them. Understanding your partner is important, but it's not enough. If the cycle of criticism doesn't stop, you've got to get serious about what you will and will not tolerate. Yep, I am talking about the B word. Boundaries. Here's the thing. When criticism becomes a regular part of your relationship, it's not just annoying, it's incredibly destructive. If left unchecked, it'll chip away at your self-worth and destroy your emotional bond with your partner. This isn't your fault, and you deserve better. So I want you to establish some boundaries, not as a form of punishment or control, but as protection for you and the relationship. And I just want to be super clear about what a boundary is and what it isn't, because boundaries are often misunderstood, and that's when they don't really work. So a boundary isn't about changing your partner's behavior. That's mostly out of your control. You can't force somebody to speak kindly or stop being critical. What you can do is decide what you will and won't tolerate, and how you'll respond if that boundary is crossed. Think of it like a fence. You can't stop the neighbor's kids from kicking their soccer ball, but you can put up a barrier so that it doesn't land in your garden and crush your roses. So what does that look like in a relationship? When dealing with a critical partner, you might start by setting a boundary around tone and delivery. Maybe you're okay with feedback, but not with sarcasm, yelling, or personal attacks. So draw a line around how things are said, not just the actual words that are used. Here are some phrases that can help you articulate that boundary. Try, "Hey, I'm open to feedback, but not when it's delivered like that. Can you say that in a different way?" Or, "I'm not okay with being spoken to like I'm the enemy. How would you say that if you saw me as a teammate rather than an opponent?" You can also say something like, "The way you're saying this makes it really hard for me to hear. I want to understand you, but I need us to speak to each other with more kindness." And remember, a boundary isn't just something that you say, it's something you enforce. That's often the hard part, but I urge you to stick with it. So if the conversation turns critical and your partner doesn't meet you halfway in terms of adjusting their language or delivery, you can hit pause on the discussion by saying something like, "Let's pick this back up when we can talk to each other respectfully. I need a breather." Then you can physically exit the conversation, and voila, your boundary has been enforced. Now, don't get me wrong, boundaries won't magically fix your partner's critical behavior, but they will create a dynamic that demands accountability, respect, and kindness. And regardless of what your partner does, you will feel better having stood up for yourself. And that leads us nicely to our next strategy, which is all about self-worth. 4, don't internalize their criticism. Your partner always has something to say, another flaw, another failure, another thing you did wrong. After a while, you start to wonder, what if they're right? Maybe I'm really that bad. Am I the problem? Now let me stop you right there. That nagging little voice, that's not truth. That's self-doubt taking root where it doesn't belong. And I need you to silence it pronto. Now this one is huge because if you're not careful, your partner's criticism will get under your skin. You might start second guessing yourself, walking on eggshells, and generally feeling smaller and less certain. But here's the truth. You are not your partner's opinion, and you're certainly not incompetent, unlovable, or broken just because your partner can't communicate kindly or express their needs in a healthy way. Remember, a critical partner is often battling their own stuff, insecurity, fear, frustration, or even shame. And that's no excuse, but it can help you separate their words from your own self-worth. So how do you protect your sense of self when you're in the firing line? You build emotional armor and you reinforce your own self-respect. Try this simple exercise. Grab a journal and take 10 minutes to answer the following questions. What are 3 to 5 qualities I'm proud of in myself? What kind of partner do I choose to be regardless of how my partner behaves? How would my friends describe me? What do I know to be true about who I am? If you struggle at first, don't worry. You can always add to it later when you have some new ideas. Now, keep this list safe. And whenever that critical voice starts creeping into your thoughts, you pull out that list and you remind yourself who you are. You can be open to feedback and growth, sure, but that doesn't mean you have to absorb every critical comment as fact. If you're doing your best to show up with kindness, effort, and integrity, that's enough. Protect your self-worth. It's not up for negotiation. 5, reinforce teamwork over competition. Another big problem with criticism is that it creates a divide. One of you attacks, the other defends. Suddenly, it's not us versus the problem, it's you versus me. And when that becomes the norm, even the tiniest issues feel like major battles. But healthy relationships aren't meant to be battlegrounds. They're meant to be a team sport. A dynamic built on criticism turns everything into a competition. Whose way is better? Whose feelings matter more? Who's right? And once you're stuck in that pattern, my gosh, it is hard to feel safe, seen, or supported. You might start responding with defensiveness or avoidance. Meanwhile, your partner doubles down, intent on winning the argument instead of resolving the issue. But here's the truth that I know you already know. Nobody actually wins in that scenario. Trust me, I've been there. One of my first relationships was with a super critical partner, and I'd get caught up in trying to defend myself and prove that I was not the problem. I'd often even completely forget what we were fighting about in the first place. It was so incredibly exhausting. And then one day, I just stopped trying to win. I was so tired of the constant battle. So what did I do? I flipped the script. Instead of going against my partner, I just said, look, I don't want to fight you on this. I want us to be a team and figure this out together. That one sentence softened everything. It stopped being about who was right and started being about what we both needed. It didn't magically fix the relationship. We had a lot of deeper issues, but it did shift the dynamic in that moment. And honestly, that gave me a glimpse of what a healthy relationship could feel like: supportive, collaborative, and safe. So if you're stuck in that exhausting cycle of criticism and defense, try changing tack. Don't match their energy, redirect it. Remind your partner that you're not opponents, you're on the same team. Try using phrases like, I want us to feel like partners, not enemies. Or, how can we solve this together so both of us feel heard? Or another great one that refers back to your earlier boundary, I'm open to figuring this out, but I want to feel respected in the process. And notice how I'm always framing it in terms of what I want. I'm not focusing on the negatives or what I want my partner to stop doing. I'm focusing on what I want more of. Now, the reason that this works so well is because it helps to create security. You're reminding your partner that you're in it together and that you want to meet their needs, and that can help them be more vulnerable and less critical. We've covered some really important strategies, so let's quickly recap. If you are dealing with a critical partner, here's what you can do. 1, listen to understand. Are they criticizing, critiquing, or complaining? Learn the difference and respond accordingly. 2, get to the root of the criticism. What fears, insecurities, or unmet needs is your partner actually trying to convey? 3, set clear boundaries and enforce them. You don't have to put up with constant criticism. Let your partner know exactly what you will and won't tolerate. 4, don't internalize their criticism. Separate your self-worth and value from your partner's words. And 5, reinforce teamwork. Don't compete. Collaborate. Get back on the same side and rebuild emotional safety. At the end of the day, you deserve a relationship where you feel supported and valued. And while things might feel heavy and hopeless right now, I promise you these strategies can genuinely help you reset your relationship and get things back on track. If this video spoke to you, let it be the start of something new. The Paired app gives you practical tips and fun, interactive ways to strengthen your relationship every day. Try it. You'll find a link in the description. And now I want to hear from you. Of all the strategies we've covered today, which do you think will have the biggest impact on your relationship? Are there any that feel a little intimidating? Let me know in the comments. Let's share ideas and support each other. And hey, if you want more no-nonsense relationship advice, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.